Yes. Good evening, everyone. So finally, we've got all of the technical issues sorted out, and we are officially live, and we can begin today's session. Um, this session is going to talk about, as the title suggests, WAT tips for the IPM and SET. SET is asking us the WAT as part of the exam itself. IPM as of now, if not indoor, then we've got the other IPMs as well. They may either have it as part of the exam or they may have it as part of the later selection procedure. So in either case, it makes sense for us to take care of the WAT bit today itself. All right. So my name is Abhishek, and we'll just get on with the session and we'll knock this off as quickly as possible. Background wise, I'm an MBA from Symbiosis, which is Symbiosis Center for Management and Human Resource Development. Although it says human resource development, my specialization has been marketing, and it's been a glorious 8+ years in the industry. And here we are, right? So without further ado, let's just jump right down to the session. And before we get into that, a couple of, let's say, guidelines for the session. For those who are joining us on Zoom, our kids, make sure that all of your questions are in the Q&A tab only, right? I'll try to answer as many as I can, but the repetitive posting, all right, of the doubts and all, try to avoid as much as possible. You've posted it once, don't worry, I will get to those questions, and most likely I will take all of your questions at the end of the session. It may not be possible to take the questions in the middle. If I see something very interesting as a question, then I'll try and take it in the middle of the session. But as of now, let's just hang on to all our doubts and keep them till the very end. So that's one thing. The raise hand feature, of course, is to me pretty much useless, because if I see that so and so person has raised hand, that to me doesn't tell me anything. That can you hear me or not? Is that the issue? Can you not see the slides, or I don't know, is there buffering in the video? I have no idea what is happening. So make sure that you don't use that feature a whole lot. Reach out to whoever is your center concerned person, and that person will resolve all of your technical issues. Make sure that, like I said, instead of the Q&A tab, like I mentioned before, we are just using the chat window, because I've got multiple windows running here and it becomes a bit chaotic. So make sure that you're posting all of your questions in the chat box. I will take your questions at the very end. Do not worry. Try not to interrupt the session with questions in the middle. I'll take all of your questions. Do not worry. That's a couple of things to remember before we go ahead with the session. Don't repost. I will see all of your questions. We'll take care of them. For those who are joining us on Zoom, you will find this session under your live IMS account, somewhere under some or the other tab. So you need not worry. You can access it anytime. All right. If not, then we will try and send you the YouTube links on your groups, and you can watch it there. That's also not an issue. All right. Now, let's finally start with the written assessment test, or what is called as the WAT. Now, the written assessment test is known by another form. Written ability test is also another way of stating the WAT, right? Doesn't really matter what it's called. Some people call it AWT, analytical writing test. The nomenclature is not really our concern. What is expected of us is, in short, an essay. Now, the question is, what is tested in that essay or in the WAT? So I call it the 3C approach, right? These three things you should have as part of your WAT. The first thing that is tested is the concept of communication. Now, what is communication? I'll explain in a moment. But first, make sure to understand all of this. You can take screenshots as and when you feel like them, but it would be better if you just heard me out. It's all there nicely mentioned on the slide. Now, communication. The second C is what I call content. The third C is what I call coherence. Now, this 3C approach is, while written as communication, content, and coherence, the priority is the reverse. The first thing that is tested is coherence. If your coherence is in place, then I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit on the content and a little bit on the communication. But having great communication without coherence and content will ruin your VAT, right? So make sure to understand that while the three C's have been written as 1, 2, 3, the priority or the rank is 3, 2, 1, meaning the first priority or the largest weightage is given to coherence, followed by content and then communication. But what is coherence? Coherence means that I need my VAT to be structured. It should have a clear cut beginning, a clear cut middle, and a clear cut end, what we call intro, body, and conclusion. Do I need 4 paragraphs? Do I need 5? That's a question I will answer in the next coming a couple of slides. But for now, what I mean by coherence is that your VAT should be structured. It shouldn't be a hodgepodge of ideas. You start with something, then randomly write 2 things, then you conclude, then you realize you've got 2 more points, then you add them. That becomes chaotic. That's called coherence, incoherence rather. So coherence is intro, body, end, properly flowing from one to the other. Then I have content. When you have, let's say, an opinion to be evaluated or opinion to be presented, how best are you able to provide data, perhaps, or are you able to provide logical reasons, perhaps? Say, for example, someone asks me, why did you buy this watch? And I reply with, I bought this watch because it has these features. That makes sense. That's a valid reason. I bought this watch because the guy who owns this company is my role model. That doesn't seem like too great a reason, right? Too great. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it doesn't seem like it's too great a reason. Is why I have to choose my reasons wisely. That's the content part. And of course, communication revolves around things like grammar, spelling, punctuations, your capitalization. All of these things are your communication part, right? So the 3 C's are going to be your what we call cornerstones of your VAT. Anything that you mess up in this is going to start eating away into your rating. So while I'm not saying that one is used as a replacement for other, there is of course a priority where I said that coherence is going to be number one. Structure is crucial, then followed by what you write in it, followed by then the how part, the words, etc., vocabulary, grammar, blah blah, what have you, right? This is the first point. I'm assuming that screenshots are being taken if you want. So I'll just leave this on the slide for the couple of seconds while we go on to the next one. All right. Now, within the VAT, there are a couple of instructions that are broadly the same. Now, there might be 2, 3 things here and there that might be different, but broadly, you will have a space provided to you, right? That space is going to be limited. Unlikely that you can write pages and pages and pages. The other reason being you will not have the time to write it anyway. So make sure to understand that there is some sort of rough word limit, and that word limit is roughly 350 to 500 words. And the time that you will be given is anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, depends on institute to institute. I'm not going to get into which exam is going to ask what duration, blah, blah, blah. That's not really the point. Point is you've got a broad time limit of 20 to 30. So it's not like you have to panic and write an entire essay in 10 minutes. So you can take your time with a VAT. So make sure to take your time, organize your thoughts, etc., and then proceed with the typing part. Now, it is going to be online, so you have to plan out what you want to write. And since it is online, you can anytime erase the stuff that you have written. So you can type out and say, okay, I will broadly talk about these 2 things, then next para will be these 2 things, then next para these 2 things. That will give you some sort of structure so that, okay, boss, I know that I have, let's say, 5 reasons to mention in my VAT. I'll write down keywords, not the entire reason, obviously. I'll write down certain keywords in the first couple of minutes so that I can then remember, okay, boss, I have not forgotten anything, right? One, yeah, two, check, three, check. Okay, so I can do a quick check and I know that, okay, boss, all of these points that I thought of initially have been covered. It's only for your benefit that I'm asking you to plan out the VAT, because if you have the facility to backspace and then delete the stuff, why not? Because you will not have a paper that you can use physically to write down the points. It's the middle of the exam, right? So that's why I recommend that you plan out your VAT and you write down those points in that text box itself. And once you're done, erase them. But yes, make sure to erase them, otherwise that will create some issues, right? After that, make sure that the typing speed practice is done a lot, because we are not used to typing so much. We are used to typing, but we are not used to typing so much, that too at one go. Even if it is handwritten, we are not used to writing so much at one go, which is why the practice part is going to be crucial. Take as many WAT topics as you can get your hands on. Some of these topics we will share on your groups as well. Make sure that you practice as much as you can, because on the day you will not develop speed. On the day you will end up making mistakes, typing errors, etc., which I don't want you to do, right? So make sure that you are getting enough practice before the actual exam. Moving on, font size. Not that you can change the font size in any case, but if it's a genuine text editor that is given to you and you have the ability to change the font size, no need to go overboard. The size that I have put on the slide is simply because I want even someone who is watching this session on a cell phone or a mobile device can read the data on the PowerPoint properly, is why I've kept the font size so large. It does not mean that you have to while writing the VAT, but just make sure it's not too tiny. That's all really the point, right? You can make a couple of good assumptions and then you can go ahead and write your VAT and choose the right font size, right? Also, if the space is limited, meaning you can't scroll down whatever, and because the VAT, sorry, has a rough 350 to 500 word limit, make sure that you manage it within the space provided. If it says that, okay, you know what, you've got something like a Word document in which within one page you have to manage your VAT, then you'll have to manage your font size, spacing, etc. accordingly, margins, whatever, so that you don't overshoot the limit. Sir, but what if I write PTO at the end and it extends to 2 pages? They don't care. They don't care. They are not going to bother. If they have explicitly mentioned one side or one page, they're not going to bother reading anything beyond that one page. So don't try and squeeze in a couple of extra lines, points here and there. Be as crisp as possible and ensure that you are finishing it compulsorily within the space provided, right? Anything that requires my attention so far? All right. Uh, Quick pause. A lot of people are posting stuff on the Q&A tab. Honestly, please don't do that. If there's anything that you have, please write in the chat box. Do not post anything on the Q&A tab. I will pretend that that tab doesn't exist. Okay. Now, what types of topics, etc., I'll tell you. That is all going to be tackled in the subsequent slides. This is not like, okay, thank you, bye, session is done, relax. We'll tackle the topics, how to tackle each type of topic. All of that is coming up. Hold on. We are just scratching the surface. Okay. So we'll just hang on to those questions for now. And let's just hold on 1 second. Practice. Okay. Practice. We are going to give you some topics on your Telegram groups or whatever. So don't worry about that part. All right. There will also be a practice session. So we'll try and ensure that all those things also get sorted. Okay. Now, the coherence part, the content part, the communication part, Before getting into all of that, the crux of the matter, let's first plan out our time. Sorry, assuming that it's a 30-minute VAT, take the first 5 minutes to nicely write down those points or type in those points that we discussed. So when you have a topic, okay, boss, this is my topic. I know that this is what I'm going to write, and these are my, let's say, reasons. So I'm going to make a mention in terms of keywords, one or two keywords. That's it. Don't write the whole thing. And then you can start elaborating on them in the 20 minutes. And finally, the last part, which a lot of us forget, spell check and review. I cannot stress this enough. A lot of typing mistakes are bound to occur, which when you write, you can sort of erase and see what you're writing, and then you can erase and correct it. But it may not be possible to do that in your typed VAT, because you just look at the keyboard and you're continuously typing. You might not even notice that you've made an error till you look at the screen, which is why I'm saying that you type the whole thing, fair enough, but after that, make sure to give that time to spell check. Right. Now, of course, if spelling is an issue for you, then that is something that we'll have to work on separately. That's a verbal issue. But make sure that if your spellings and all are in place, you take the effort to review your VAT, check if I have nicely given that demarcation of paragraphs, I've left a space between each paragraph, all of that is taken care of. That's it, you're done. This becomes your planning for the VAT, right? No autocorrect will be there. So it's all on you. Also, a lot of things are going to get messed up by autocorrect as well, right? So make sure that you are not relying on autocorrect, number one. And even if there is autocorrect, you still have to review. Why? Because we all know that autocorrect sometimes tends to make errors, right? So things happen. Don't rely on autocorrect, first of all. Okay, nothing will be provided. It's a notepad sort of situation. It's not an MS Word type situation. So you won't get all those benefits. All right. Pushing forward, what are the various things that I have to tackle? What can come up in the VAT basically? The first thing is a very simple opinion driven VAT, agree, disagree, true or false, something like that. The second one is something called as a choice driven VAT, where you have either a finite choice or an infinite choice. I'll explain the finite and infinite in a minute, but this is what is opinion driven, followed by something called an analytical VAT and an abstract VAT, and something specific to symbiosis that has been happening for the past couple of years is a pictorial VAT. What are all of these things? One by one, I'll explain. An opinion driven VAT, as the term suggests, is where you will have to agree or disagree with the statement given to you, or you will be asked a question to which you have to say true or false or something like that. So if you look at something like this, has the current government done enough to effectively tackle the COVID-19 pandemic? Yes, it has, because blah blah blah. No, it hasn't, because blah blah blah. You can have only a yes or a no. Please do not be a fence sitter in such cases, meaning some yes, some no, or mostly yes, but there are some no's. Don't do that. Always have a clear opinion in such cases. It does not pay to be diplomatic. However, there is one question that a lot of you might think, is it okay if I take an unpopular or non traditional opinion? Honestly, they don't really care about your opinion. Meaning, has the current government done enough? You say, what if the guy who is evaluating my VAT is a supporter of the BJP? Better write yes and then give some good 2 3 reasons, rather than you feel no and you have good reasons, but you're like, you know what, better write yes. I don't want to anger the evaluator. They don't care. Number one. I mean, most people will write no, so I should probably write yes. Doesn't matter. Should you take the popular opinion? Should you take the unpopular opinion? Should you think of what the evaluator might think of you based on your opinion? Nothing. Take an opinion that you can justify properly, rationally, logically, with good, strong reasons. It does not matter what is the opinion as long as it is justified properly. Either using data or using strong reasons, examples, incidents, etc. So please don't get into that mindset of should I write an opinion based on what I think the evaluator might think? No. Don't overthink it too much. Whatever is your first instinct regarding that opinion, and more importantly, whatever you think you can justify, is the one you pick and start writing, typing. All right. Make sure to not get into that trap of, oh, I don't know, I mean, popular, unpopular. Maybe I'll get brownie points for taking a minority opinion. Nothing of that sort. If you take a minority opinion just to get brownie points, but you have horrible reasons, no data, no content, then what is the point? So make sure that you pick opinions or you take a stand that you can justify. That's the only criterion that you should look for. Right? That's called an opinion driven VAT. A choice driven VAT, if I have finite, would be what? Couple of choices given and I have to pick from them. So something like this. Between Sachin and Kohli, who is the better batsman? So you have got only two options, and you have to pick one. Here, same thing. Don't say in some cases Sachin is great, in some cases Kohli. Don't do that. Again, the same thing. Pick a side and stick to it. But this is still finite. You've got two and you have to choose. Maybe three, whatever. Point is, you've got two or three and you have to pick from these. Infinite would be a totally open field. Who is the best batsman in the world? Blanket question. So you can take any batsman in the world and then justify. Simple. Right? This becomes your infinite choice. Are we clear? Screenshots quickly. Right? Now, a couple of questions that get thrown up in all of this. When I look at vocabulary, what should I do, this, that, and all, it's all coming up. Hold on, it's all coming up. Let's just look at these two question types. Okay, question types meaning VAT types, opinion driven and choice driven. Done, sorted. Let's go to something called as the analytical VAT. Now, what's an analytical VAT? As the term suggests, it's an analysis. And by analysis, what I mean is that you cannot explore the topic from only one angle. You have to explore it from at least three angles. So, if I ask you, discuss the government's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, this is something that would be analytical. Here you can say, okay, yes, if I look at it from the point of view of healthcare, right, healthcare infrastructure, then good. If I look at it in terms of financial support to industries, then medium. If I look at it in terms of financial support to let's say the banking sector, then low, then good, then again a low, then again a good, then again a medium. This is what I call an analytical VAT, right? Where I've got to explore this topic from multiple angles. I can't keep talking only about healthcare infrastructure and say, harping on it that, okay, was this is the only angle I will look at it from. I'll give you a simpler example. If I ask you to evaluate me as a person, can you just talk about how good or bad my teaching skills are? That would be too narrow a perspective, right? So if you have to evaluate me as a person, teaching skills would be one aspect that you will have to check. You will also look at it in terms of how I am as a friend to my other friends, how I am as a boss, perhaps, how I am as an employee, perhaps, how I am as a brother, how am I as a son, etc. And then you will evaluate and say that, okay, boss, these are the good things, these are the medium things, these are the bad things. Concept clear? This is what I mean by an analytical VAT. Make sure to understand when a topic is opinion driven and when a topic is analytical. This bit clear? Guys, please hold on to your questions. I'll take all of them at the end, because to me these questions are just getting shot on one after the other and I'm not really able to pay attention to those questions. So that's why I'm saying hold on to your questions. I'll take all of them. I promise you I'll take all of them. It's just 7:45 now and we'll be done in the next 20 odd minutes. So there's enough time to take a lot of questions. Don't worry. Okay? Is this part clear so far? Right? Analytical and more importantly versus your opinion driven VAT. Yes, no, I would prefer it if at least you wrote down yes, no in the chat box. That would be helpful. Right? Now, then comes something that is the most painful type, really painful, the abstract one. Abstract? I'll give you an example. Topic. Abstract VAT will not be told to you. You have to understand that it's an abstract one. Topic. Tiger versus dragon. Skip, boss, skip. Today is not my day. And you start tearing your hair out. Tiger versus dragon is your topic. What am I supposed to do? Is the next thing, right? So sometimes you will be given abstract topics where you are not even sure of what to do. So understand that an abstract need not, I'll repeat, need not be literal, meaning you are not necessarily comparing an actual tiger or an actual dragon. It might also be figurative. Is like this, dragon is like this. Fair enough, I can get 1 or 2 points. But what the heck is a figurative comparison? Think about what tigers and dragons represent. Could be our neighboring country, right? And then you can probably evaluate, oh, okay, so probably it's indirectly talking about comparing India and China. Then you can write, okay, India and China, what are the differences in culture, blah, 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 whatever. My point is, write both. You can actually compare that. Let's say tiger is a real creature, a dragon is an imaginary or a mythological creature, a dragon breathes fire, a tiger uses its speed, and blah blah. You take tigers and dragons literally, fair enough, but also write the figurative one. Getting it? So this is what I mean by an abstract. Look at the abstract topic in the last one. The abstract topic says, when asked what he considered to be his best work, the famous architect Frank Lloyd Wright responded, the next one. Now, what am I supposed to make of this? So Frank Lloyd Wright's next building is this. I'm not going to talk about what is the next building of Frank Lloyd Wright. Heck, I don't even know Frank Lloyd Wright, let alone know what buildings he has designed, right? So through this, what do I understand? What am I interpreting? Or what does this entire scenario represent is what is going to be the content of the VAT. Things like challenging yourself always, things like not being satisfied with your accomplishments, things like always pushing for a higher level of perfection. These sorts of things will have to be written in your VAT. Clear? Peeps, clear? I don't believe my voice is breaking. I don't really have any other people saying that my voice is breaking. So maybe some internet issue from your end. Yeah, but anyway, clear. So what I'm trying to tell you is, in a VAT like this, I am not looking at a literal interpretation. I'm looking at a figurative interpretation. What this scenario represents, rather than, oh, okay, Frank Lloyd Wright is like this, like that, like this. You don't know who is Frank Lloyd Wright, but through this, what am I trying to say? He is never satisfied with what he has accomplished. He's always saying that, you know what, the next one, because if he's satisfied today, then he will not be motivated to do a better job next time. And then complacency, and then, you know, you start losing your energy to work, and you'll churn out a substandard product and things like that. So broadly, what I'm talking about is complacency, the quest for perfection, never being satisfied with what you have accomplished, or chasing excellence, or challenging yourself, pushing your boundaries. Things like that will be the content of the abstract VAT. This one, this particular abstract VAT. Clear? Right? So the interpretation is what we are looking for in an abstract VAT. Now, quickly, I want to go back to the analytical one. Look at this steeples approach. Now, when I said that, I look at it in terms of healthcare, in terms of blah, 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 the various sectors, is in essence what I did here: social, technological, economic, environmental, blah, blah, blah. So when you're stuck, so say, for example, the topic is, has the current government achieved its objectives? Now, it's a broad topic. So I take, okay, socially, what were the objectives of this government? XYZ. Some it achieved, some it did not. Tech, excuse me, technologically, what were its objectives? Okay, one, two, three, four. Some it achieved, some it did not. And then you have at least some sort of framework to analyze the topic, because there are so many things, your mind starts to get cluttered. Is why you will have a good framework like steeples, what you can use, rather, a good framework like steeples. Again, you may not have everything in every analytical topic, obviously. If I'm talking about analyze me as a person, what is the entertainment part in this, what is the sport part in this, political part in this? Nothing, absolutely nothing. So point is, use what is applicable, right? Screenshots quickly while we go to the next one. So analytical abstract and your opinion and finite. Now the pictorial bit is not there in your on your slide. So I'll just explain to you what is the pictorial one. But before we get to that, these four types clear? See, again, the objective is not to deep dive into each topic and then give you a sample VAT. Okay. I'm just trying to tell you what is the way of looking at it. That's it. Right? All right. Now, pictorial VAT. A pictorial VAT, as the term suggests, will have a picture given to you, right? And after that, you will have to write. Obviously, the picture is supposed to be used, meaning if it shows, say, for example, a site like this, say, let's say someone takes a photograph of me where I am doing a gesture like this and I'm looking at the laptop. At best, what would be the VAT about? Remote working, right? It's very easy to understand that this VAT is about remote working or online lectures, or how we are moving to a flexible workspace, things like that, right? So you will start with pandemic, then talk about various areas where remote working is now becoming the trend, and blah, 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 blah. That is how you would extend the VAT. Simple, obvious, nothing to overthink. But make sure that if I am showing you a photograph of someone, clicking a photograph of me while I'm doing like this and looking at the screen, don't write he's playing a game. E-gaming has become a major trend in today's world. My hands are like this, right? As if explaining to you. Don't write about e-gaming or esports then. Point clear? Point clear? If both my hands are like this, as if I'm explaining, then don't write e-gaming. What am I supposed to do? Motion gaming? That doesn't make sense. So make sure that what you can interpret the picture differently. Fair enough. Just like you can interpret the WAT, abstract WAT differently, but at least you give some connection. It has to make some broad sense. Is what is a pictorial WAT. Now, in your exams, can I pinpoint and say that pictorial is highly likely or an opinion driven is highly likely, etc.? You can't. To be honest, you can't. So I'm not going to bother. Your job is to be prepared for as many as you can of all the various types. All right. So somewhere someone asked a question, which one will come in the exam? I don't know. I'm not setting the paper. I am from Symbiosis. I am not from the Symbiosis paper setting committee. Let's not get that confused. Okay. I did my MBA a long time ago. I'm not the guy who's setting the paper. So I can't give you insider information and I'll tell you over there. So that I don't do. All right. So make sure to not ask me any of this. Honestly, because we're not the ones setting the paper, right? But why not have that exposure to as many various topics as possible? That's your responsibility, which is what I just said. I'm not the one setting the paper, so I cannot tell you what will come. Anything and everything you should be prepared for. Two at least of each. I did not have a VAT because I did not go for the SET, meaning your undergraduate course. Mine was a totally different logic, which was after my graduation. It was a different exam that did not have a VAT. So, irrelevant question, unfortunately. I have written quite a few VATs, I have seen quite a few VATs, but the point is, in my case, the process was entirely different. So, let's not get into that. Now, pictorial VATs clear? Concept wise, that's it, concept wise, right? The next session, which I will tell you when it is, we will do hopefully at least one topic of each type. Okay, the next session, which is your VAT practice session, I'll hopefully try and do at least one topic of each type. So hang on, right? At the end of the session, I'll tell you when it is lined up so that we can attend the next one accordingly, and then blah blah blah. Okay, now this takes care of your 4 bits. The next thing we need to go about is the uh, instructions regarding how do I write the VAT and all. How do I, you're telling me that you need to write it in paragraphs, but how am I supposed to go from one paragraph to the next? A couple of people have that question. Sir, should I write a title? Should I write quotations? Is it okay if I write a proverb? What is the data that should come up, etc.? I'll explain all of that quickly. First things first. First things first, vocabulary, when I look at it, which is part of communication, vocabulary is not something you need to be extremely fluent in. Meaning, I am not expecting you to be someone who is a virtuoso at vocabulary. Fancy vocab is not expected. However, it pays to have a good vocabulary so that you can save space. For example, if it is asking you for an opinion on something, and you say that you are very angry regarding something, isn't it faster to write furious or enraged? Right? That's my point. Rather than saying very happy, why not write ecstatic? That is what is going to separate your VAT from the others. While extremely great vocabulary is not expected, meaning magniloquence, Shashi Tharoor type vocabulary is not expected, it pays to have at least some sort of differentiating factor that you're not using two simple words. And if there is a better word for it, you're using a better word. And of course, instead of using very, 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 you can shrink it to a better word. That is vocab part. So focus on vocab, but don't set a target that everything has to be as per Shashi Tharoor or as per Joey baby kangaroo Tribbiani. You don't have to do that. When the part is Joey, you leave it as Joey. Getting it? So it doesn't have to be like that. But yes, good vocabulary will set your VAT apart from the others. That's number one. Rules of grammar, of course, you are all aware of. You should not write things like I am been talking and stuff like that. So that's the basic rules of grammar you should be aware of, which is what you can do in your review part. That's one part. Second part is title. The topic is given to you, no need of a title. A quote or a proverb, if you know who has written it and the words word for word, write it. Only if it's relevant to a topic. For example, if my topic is pandemic and you're writing about entertainment, what connection? Randomly you're writing about my topic is X just because you know a quote, you're writing it which has got nothing to do with the topic itself, then that doesn't make sense. So don't try to show off, is the point. That's number two. Number three, when you are writing data, please don't write data that is far too, let's say, broad. Meaning what? When I talk about data, if your data point is, let's say, 435.7 billion, for some reason it is 435.7 billion, it's okay if you write around 440 billion. It's even okay close to 450 billion. Don't say somewhere around 500 billion. That's number one. Try to be as close to the data as possible. Try to be. That's number one. Number two, sources should be mentioned where possible. And by source, I mean don't write something like a leading Indian newspaper somewhere around early 2021 published some figures that it was around 500 billion. Do you realize how vague that sounds? Leading newspaper, early 2021, around 500 billion. How vague is it? If you can at least mention the name of the consulting organization or the name of the newspaper or the magazine, number one. Try to be at least as close to the month as possible. If not the date, at least month. A Boston Consulting Group report in February 2021 stated that it was around 500, meaning that you are at least giving some semblance to the data, some sort of closeness to the data, rather than just writing random stuff. Because I can quote random data. 83% of all boys, did you know that 83% of all boys wear black shirts most of the time? Who says? Exactly, right? I can quote data at will, but is the data from a verifiable source, or at least from a trustworthy source, rather than a certain ex prime minister screaming fake news? I'm not saying we do that, but it has to be somewhere verifiable and trustworthy. So that's why I'm saying if you have data, that's fine. If you don't have precise data, fair enough. But don't be too vague. All right? Don't be too vague. Certainly don't give fake information. Right? The evaluator will say fake news and give you a big egg. Don't do that. Okay? So please make sure that you are not trying to fool the evaluators by writing random gyan. Right? So that is your data part. Reasons, don't give horrible reasons or let's not call it horrible reasons, let's call them illogical reasons. So say for example, the past 3 elections, this particular leader had not kept his promises. So in the upcoming election also, he will certainly not keep his promises. That's wrong. That's like saying you were late for the past 3 lectures, so I know you are going to be late in tomorrow's lecture also. Is that fair on you? No. So don't give me illogical reasons, right? Trying to predict the future based on past data or generalizing an outcome, things like that. Basically, what we called in critical reasoning flaws in the reasoning, right? So get rid of all those logical flaws and write something sensible. All right. A good VAT, all right, a good VAT will improve your chances of conversion to no end. Honestly, a good VAT has a good weightage in your final selection. I think it's 20, 25-ish percent. I think it is 20%. Your score gets scaled down and whatever. Point is 20% weightage is there. So make sure to give adequate importance to all parts of your selection criteria. The the written, the VAT, and your eventual PI, etc. Don't think of it as, okay, you know what if I don't know what to write in the VAT? I'll just say chuck it. I'm not going to bother. Just write some random nonsense and come out. Don't do that. All right. Do not do that. Write something. Think long and hard. You will find at least one point, something sensible you need to write and come. A good VAT will increase your chances to no end. Not to say that a bad VAT will kill your chances, but it will certainly not improve your chances in any way. Make sure that you are not in that end of the spectrum where you have to fight for every single mark from your PI and from your written, just so that you can scrape through their selection criteria. We don't want that, right? Which is where we are talking about practice and all of that, right? So this takes care of a couple of more questions regarding vocabulary, grammar, using quotations, how to use data, how to present the data and all of that. And we'll come to the final couple of bits of the session. Format. How am I supposed to demarcate my paragraphs? When we have either an opinion driven VAT or a choice driven VAT. This is broadly what I am expecting as a format. I'll explain, relax. The first point says, or the first paragraph says, restate the topic without making it obvious. What does this mean? What was your opinion driven VAT question? Has the current government done enough to, what has the current government done well to handle the COVID-19 pandemic? Don't start your VAT by stating, first line, today we have been asked whether the current government has done enough to da da da, and don't do that. Meaning, don't copy paste the topic and start writing. Restate the topic without making it obvious means try to provide some sort of context or try to spin it to something that is relevant. Meaning, the COVID-19 pandemic has hit all countries, big or small, rich or poor, and our country has also been affected. Some governments have managed to handle it well and some haven't. And I believe that our government has blah blah blah, and my reasons are as follows. That is your first paragraph. Is the first paragraph clear what I mean by restating the topic without making it obvious? Repeat. Okay. The COVID-19 pandemic has hit all countries, rich and poor, big or small. Some governments have managed to handle the pandemic well, and some haven't. Our government, or the current government, has managed to, or I believe the current government has not managed to, whatever, handle the pandemic. And my reasons are as follows. That's it. That's your first paragraph. I'm saying you try to spin the topic a little bit. Don't do a copy paste of the topic. Today we have been asked who is the best batsman, Sachin or Kohli, and I believe that don't do that. Cricket has become a batsman's game nowadays with several rules, blah blah blah. And to that end, we need to figure out. And then you mention your opinion. Clear it? Clear? All of this bit? Broadly, what I'm trying to say is don't give me a copy paste of the question. Okay. I don't know what language I am talking in because there are still people posting on the Q&A tab, and I don't know why they are doing that. If you can, if you really want to, type in the chat box if you have questions. It's absolutely fine. Questions I'll take at the end. Now, we have, let's say, for example, I don't believe that the current government has handled the pandemic well, and my reasons are as under, or my reasons are as follows. Firstly, there is the question of inadequate healthcare infrastructure. That is called reason one. Then you elaborate on it. We needed these many beds, and these many beds were only available. These many people died because they could not get oxygen. These many states have faced this problem. This medicine was short. This happened. That is what I mean by elaboration. This is all in that first reason. Getting it? Getting it? So the reason, when I say firstly, it will have just a couple of keywords. Firstly, there is a question of the inadequate healthcare infrastructure. Sentence one. Then you elaborate. What do you mean by inadequate healthcare infrastructure? This. This is all firstly paragraph. Clear? Then, secondly, there is a question of the vaccines. Then you elaborate on vaccine, this problem, this state, this blah, 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 blah. That becomes secondly as a paragraph. Then thirdly, blah, blah, whatever, as many reasons as you want to write, each of them demarcated into one paragraph. And finally, you have one last reason. So that's why I left it as a dot, dot, dot. Give me a minimum of 3 reasons, by the way, 3 good, strong reasons that you can elaborate on for at least 3-4 lines, meaning one paragraph it should look like. All set? So this is what I mean by firstly and reason. The reason will have just a couple of keywords. Then I will have the explanation of that reason, which is that elaboration, data, content, etc. Secondly, followed by another couple of keywords. Then elaboration. Okay, my God, in case I wasn't clear, you are not going to get questions like who is the better batsman, Kohli or Sachin. They are not expecting everyone to be so clued in with cricket. You will get questions that everyone can fairly nicely answer easily. Okay, so stop asking me what if I don't know about cricket. I'm giving you an example. I'm not expecting that you will relax. Okay, you are not going to get extremely esoteric topics, meaning let's talk about thermodynamics. That's not what you will get. You will get topics that everyone can write on. Are we clear? So reasons followed by explanation, one para. Reason 2 followed by explanation, another para. Obviously the dots are more for my allocation, but you are not supposed to write it in points. You are supposed to write it as an essay. Okay. Because of, and that is why, last paragraph, and that is why, because of the poor healthcare infrastructure, the lack of vaccine programs, this, and this, I believe the current government has not done blah, blah, blah. And you close it. Simple. So the keywords that you wrote in firstly, secondly, thirdly, those same keywords you mention at the bottom, because of this, and this, I believe, and then you restate what you have mentioned. Clear? Now, instead of, and my reasons are as follow, under, can I write my reasons are as follows? Of course you can write. That's not really the exact keyword that I'm looking for. Okay. Copy pasting the same doubt 20 different times will not help. All right. I mentioned that all of your doubts will be taken at the end. I need all of you to have some patience. All right. For I don't want to take names, but copy pasting the same dot 20 different times on the same chat box is not really going to help. That pains me all the more. Okay. So hang on to your horses. I'll tell you everything. Relax. Hold on. Where were we? So the combination of keywords, and that is why I believe, write that. That's also fine. So the keyword should reflect an effect because of blah blah blah. Hence, because of, those are all the smaller issues. Okay. So this is what I mean by the format for an opinion driven VAT or a choice driven VAT. Right? Expect your VATs to be more driven towards current affairs or abstract, because they are looking at GK on some level, again, but not to say that abstract VATs will not come. I don't know. That is why I want you to study, do your research on the burning issues that are there nowadays. Okay. So that's where you will have to step in. Tomorrow's session, I am going to give you a very nice set of topics, some of which are current affairs, some abstract, some this, some that. So please, for heaven's sake, come prepared. All right. So this becomes your opinion and choice VAT. Assuming screenshots have been taken, I'm going to the next one. The next one is regarding your abstract VAT. Okay. Where we said that Frank Lloyd Wright topic. Okay. So your Frank Lloyd Wright topic is going to start as saying that this question, or rather Frank Lloyd Wright's response, can be interpreted in a variety of ways as follows. Yeah, which are as follows. You can directly just write a two-liner first paragraph. That's absolutely fine, because there is nothing to elaborate on this. Getting it? If I just take that Frank Lloyd Wright's paragraph, the topic can be, or the above topic can be tiger versus dragon. The above topic has various interpretations which could be as under. Same logic, right? If I take Frank Lloyd Wright, firstly, it could be seen as taking up new challenges. Secondly, it could be seen as constantly pushing one's limits. Thirdly, it could be seen as never being complacent. And then blah, blah, blah. Getting it? You can give more examples. Think of Muhammad Ali, he always practiced so hard, this, that, and all. Then you can say never give up. And you can add more examples, just like what. See, understand, you are not trying to talk specifically about Frank Lloyd Wright. You are talking about what that entire topic represents. So you can give many examples of this football team, or this athlete, or this movie star who underwent many hardships, persistence, blah blah, depending on what the topic is. You can give many relevant examples, because you are looking at interpretations, not specific to Frank Lloyd Wright. Getting it? All set? Please take screenshots quickly. So that's what I'm saying, Nishta. When I have these perspectives, never give up or constantly push your boundaries, push your limits, do you have examples that talk about these, or are you talking about someone who has risen after a lot of struggle? That Frank Lloyd Wright's example doesn't talk about rising from the ashes. So don't write that singer or dancer's example here. If you have someone who is talking about or who represents those qualities, only then write. That's what I'm saying. Put relevant examples. Right? Like I said, vocabulary and all at this point is something that you should work on, but don't let it be the center stage of the WAT. There is no need to use flowery language all the time. Use the correct words that denote the correct intent, feeling, whatever, and ensure that you are as crisp as possible, because you cannot write essays of novel length. Okay, you're looking at 350 500 words, which is going to be fairly short. If you keep writing, I would say you take up a WAT, you search for some WAT topic of SET. It's a simple Google search. You pick up a WAT topic tonight, write down one WAT. Okay, give yourselves 30 minutes, write it in MS Word, and why don't you check the word count? Just write in half an hour as much as you can write. And then you see, okay, this much I have written. This is only 250 words and I had 5 minutes left. Then probably I can add 2 more points. If this much I have written, this is 438 words. Okay, I was only 2 minutes were left. I'm fine, fair enough. That's fine. Try. That's exactly what I'm trying to tell you. Try. You need to begin somewhere. You need to do a little bit of practice. All right. If you don't have data, give me examples, give me reasons. For example, the reason to buy this watch may not be because this watch is made from this mineral which is found in this mine and all that. I don't have that data. But I can say that it looks good, it keeps time well. That's a reason, right? So if you don't have data, give me a reason at least. Okay. So since it's a text editor, by definition, you can edit, which is why I'm telling you, write down your points at the beginning, write down your entire WAT, then delete those points from the top. Okay. So this becomes your format for the WAT. Now, the next thing that is left is, of course, our world famous thank you slide, right? My bit is done for today, and because it's just around 8:30, I'll now take all of your questions. The 2nd of July, which is tomorrow, 7 p.m., is when we have the WAT practice session. We will be doing a variety of things. So I would expect that all of you who have shown up today will show up tomorrow as well. That's about it, really. Give me a minute, right? Give me 1 minute. I want those who want to exit, who have no doubts, etc. They can choose to exit the session. That's absolutely fine. Thank you so much for attending. Those who are live on YouTube, thank you so much for attending as well. At this point, I'm going to take a quick pause. And at this point, I'm going to take questions. So if the ones who don't have questions have left, let's just pick up questions. I'm not going to pay any attention to what has already been posted in the Q&A tab, like I said before. So we'll just take questions now from this point onwards in the chat box. Okay. Yes, so IMS will provide you with your mocks, mock WATs, etc., which is exactly what we are going to do tomorrow. All right. So that's point one taken care of. And like I mentioned before, hold on. Pranshu, they will require some data, which is why we are expecting that because you are going to take IPM, etc., which will anyway have a GK section, why not study and get some numbers in place by then? Okay. I'm not saying you have to be precise, but at least be fairly close to the actual numbers. You can't tell me that 600,000 people have died in India when the actual number is 248 something. Getting it? So don't be that far off. Around 250, around 300, that still I can understand, but don't be too far off. All right. Um, So, Garvit, we don't really have clarity regarding whether the IPM will take the VAT as part of the exam on that day itself. Once we get more information, we'll let you know in your groups, right? So, Apurva, like I said, what will make your content more effective? Data, examples, solid reasons that don't have logical flaws, all of which we've mentioned before. Okay. No, Anshika, for SET, VAT is part of the exam. So you will have an exam, which is your 60 mark SET paper. After that, you immediately will be given the VAT in form of a text editor and you'll have to start writing. So it's not like you have a day's gap and all of that. Okay. What is the purpose of VAT for the colleges? Oh, yes, 20 times the doubt was raised. What is the purpose of VAT? They are testing you, like I said, on those three things. If you have ideas, can you organize them properly so that it has a beginning, middle, and end? Are you giving me good enough reasons for your opinion? And are you using good words, proper words? Do you have some semblance of grammar, etc., and good vocabulary? Is what is tested in the VAT. So that's what was the first slide, right? Tanmay, you have only one VAT, is what I am aware of as of now. Okay. So again, Hazel, whatever latest data you have, you can write. But as of May 2021, you can write that. That's absolutely fine. But give me something as much as you can give me in terms of as close as you can give me. That's fine. PI is much later. That's only for those who get shortlisted eventually. So I don't really want to focus on PI right now. Okay. Again, so preferably don't give me personal examples, Tanay, like my uncle did this, etc. Preferably well-known examples would be safer, because then it's like, okay, fine, you're saying your uncle did it. No, I have no reason to believe or not believe you. So I'll grudgingly accept that example, right? But if you say, oh, Lionel Messi did this, that at least is a nice example that it's relatable. Is why I'm saying pick relatable examples. Okay, Priyanshi, again, no information yet. Once we get information, we'll post on your groups. Okay. Noel, once we have the IPM session, you will get some clarity on how to attempt those questions. Mayank, can you do a quick Google search? I will try and get you some more data tomorrow, but for now, do a quick Google search on SET, VAT topics, etc. You can find it. So Dishita, again, this is as of the information we had last that IPM has your VAT. If it doesn't, then we'll edit this. No problem. No, Meet. They will not ask personal questions. VAT is never going to have a tell me something about yourself. Don't worry. Okay. So Anushka, when we do the VAT practice session tomorrow, I'll give you a couple of VAT topics that we will discuss, and what to do next is also what I will tell you. So relax, everything will be taken care of. Okay. What type of VAT symbiosis asked? Like I said, I don't know. I'm not the one setting the paper. We have seen all types of VATs come up. Okay. So Pranshu, again, if the data is required to be presented in an abstract topic, then present it. For example, Muhammad Ali used to run 20 kilometers daily. That is a piece of data. But what if the example of Muhammad Ali has got nothing to do with the topic that you're discussing? Then don't write data, right? That's a that's a direct answer. Okay. Manya, that you the placement part is something that I would request you to go through the website for. All right. Winpreet, the problem is we can't really reschedule this because my schedule is a bit squeezed. So unfortunately, we'll have to do this tomorrow. I'll try to keep it as quick as possible. Worst case scenario, you can reach out to your verbal mentors on your Telegram groups. That's probably the best at what we can do. right? So we are not looking at interpretations right now. Don't take individual topics. Relax, relax. Idioms, etc., all will help in vocabulary. Don't worry. Again, as long as they're relevant. So Anshi, like I mentioned, please don't give me partial answers. Take a side and stick to it. Either agree completely or disagree completely. IPM sessions are lined up. We'll let you know one by one. Relax, relax. See, Anshi, the problem with hypothetical examples is that by definition they're hypothetical. I can give some random athlete, Mr. X, and say that this athlete did this, right? But it really doesn't work. Getting it? There is no frequently asked questions for WAT, Tane, so relax. Start to practice somewhere. My God, everyone wants everything handed to you. So again, Kushi, I don't know if it will be political related. It can be, it need not be, but they will not ask you two controversial topics. Okay. It'll be something that everyone can write on. Even if it is controversial, it will be something that all of you can write on. Meaning there will be a very nice little demarcation in terms of clearly being able to agree or disagree, things like that. So just make sure you practice at least something, right? Can you look at last year's VAT topics? You do a quick Google search, do your own research a little bit, and then we can push forward and see going forward what to do. All right. So IPM, the dates, let's not take anything about last year. Last year was an utter fiasco, and I don't blame the institutes. It's just that last year things were drastically different, and most likely even this year things are drastically different. So we'll not really bother about when it's going to happen. We'll just do our job and get the prep in place. Don't worry about the dates. Okay. I know, I honestly know that, Garvit, that it's clashing with your boards, etc., whatever. So, but my point is make sure to focus on boards. That's priority number one. Okay. Kriti, honestly, there are chances of technically anything coming up, right? So, will it be May? Will it be January? I don't know. They can ask you about SpaceX also. Who knows? They can ask you about Hyperloop, the fact that Jeff Bezos has gone to space or is going to go to space. Again, I don't know, but start somewhere. At least write something. Pick up some topics and start writing on them. Practice. There is no more chances. Again, I am not the one setting the paper, chaps. Please relax. I am not the one setting the paper. So I don't know what is called chance. What if I ask you an abstract VAT? You have practiced everything from Jan to May, and I throw an abstract VAT. What are you going to do? That's it. That's the end of that, right? So you can do your job in preparing for a variety of topics and then hope for the best, which is why you've got the first 5-7 minutes to gather your thoughts and write down your points. Getting it? All right. So let's just start somewhere, pick up some topics, do a quick Google search on VAT topics for SET or VAT topics for IPM, etc., and just start writing something. Tomorrow we'll have a little bit more idea on some topics. I'll give you a list. Don't worry. Okay. You can give a heading, but honestly, since the question is already asked of you, in essence, if I ask you an answer in brief question, will you give me a heading and then answer the question? Subjective answers in your college, do you give a heading, Winpreet? Same logic. I have asked you a question, you have to answer it at the bottom. That's it. Right? Same concept. Okay. What questions are left? No topic choice. You have only one topic given to you and you have to write it on that. There is no choice given. How many paragraphs do you need to make? Honestly, as many reasons as you have for 3 4 3 4 3 4 lines, you can make many paragraphs. There's no limit. So Trimanpreet, it depends entirely on the instruction. Do they allow you to keep a spare paper next to you? If yes, you can write your points there. But if they don't allow, you have to use a text editor to write down your points. Right? What else? So, Vani, as of now, we are still waiting on confirmation from IPM. Because there are 5 IPMs this year, we don't know which IPMs will say that we want to make it part of the exam or we'll do it as part of the shortlisting, etc. We are not really sure. Once we get more information, we'll post on the group. Don't worry. Again, so Anshi, if you look at your topic, the example you have provided, what does it look like? What type of topic is it? It's an argumentative one, right? Meaning and opinion driven one. Pick a side and stick to it. Simple, right? It's unlikely that you will have something that requires you to say, I don't know, maybe yes, maybe no, and let's see, and all that. That's why I'm saying the topics will not be that problematic. Please don't think that they are out to get you. That's the next thing. Right? Any other questions that need to be answered? Any other questions that need to be answered? There are still 50 odd people in the session, which is why I want to try and ask. Anything else? Correct. So, Nishta, if you look at your topic, how many turning points have been mentioned? That's it. One paragraph for each of them. You'll have slightly longer paragraphs, of course, but in that case, that would mean then one for each, one para for each of them. So you give a good intro that these 4 have been mentioned, and then we talk about one by one, elaborate. Right? Kushi, so if we don't know much about the topic, then what should we do? Meaning that, okay, let me assume that what you're saying is you don't have data. If you don't have data, like I said for the watch, if I don't have data, then can you give me at least reasons for why you bought this, why I bought this watch? Getting it? But understand, you cannot have a situation where you're absolutely clueless about the data, which means that you haven't prepared enough. That is my problem. Getting it? So that is exactly why I'm telling you to practice enough WATs so that you're not left wondering that, oh, I haven't even prepared current affairs and this is a current affairs topic. Getting it? All right. Satvik, I would say start preparing because overnight you're not going to develop the skills to write an effective WAT, which is why I'm saying at least write 1 or 2 WATs daily since you have the time for it right now. Common turnoffs for examiners, things like an unstructured WAT, randomly you're adding points one after the other, then concluding, then adding 2 more points. That's one. There's no transition from one paragraph to another. That is what is the coherence part. Content, you're giving me illogical reasons or you're giving me too vague data. Content, you have spelling mistakes, you're being too wordy, or you have lots of grammatical errors. Communication, exactly the 3 things that I mentioned that are tested. If you goof up in these are turnoffs for us. Getting it? See, again, Gaurav, you're not going to get a topic like this. Why did I buy this watch? So let's not get into all of that. Okay. I'm just giving you an example. Don't take my words literally as, oh, this sort of question comes in the VAT. Why? Relax. It's just an example. My point is, I'm trying to teach you logic and logical errors that you might make. For example, if you ask me, sir, why did you buy this watch? And I tell you, yeah, because my girlfriend said it looked nice on me. That is an okay reason at best. Okay reason. But if I say that I bought this watch because this brand name is similar to my name, that is not really the best reason. Then if I say I bought this watch because it is one of the most accurate watches in terms of timekeeping, and it does not lose time, and it has a really long battery, so I don't have to worry about constantly replacing the battery. That's a fantastic reason. So all these sorts of fantastic reasons you put above. Then the okay reasons you put below. Don't mention the illogical ones, obviously. Getting it? What I'm trying to teach you is logical flaws, or what we call weak reasons. Have you done statement argument in VR? Strong argument, weak argument. Gaurav? Same concept, right? Again, now there's still 30 odd people. So at this point, I'm going to stop the live stream. Just give me a second. And after this, we'll take any more